Today we're going to look at matching tables and graphs to equations. Last year in 6th grade, you had to match tables to graphs and vice versa. But this year in 7th grade, we have to add another piece to the puzzle. So you still have tables and graphs, but now we're going to have to match those to equations. The first thing we're going to look at is the steps for how to take a table and match it to your equation. Now, make sure that as we're going along, you're filling in your notes so that way you don't fall behind. So, step 1 was find and circle the third order pair, which that's simple enough. You go down to the third set in your table and you just circle it. In this case, it's 3, 4. And we know as an ordered pair that's going to look like 3, 4 because it's always our x, y in an ordered pair. Now, step 2 is insert these into the equation. So I'm going to take my 3 and I'm going to plug it in for x. And if this is the correct one, it should equal my y. Does 3 plus 1 equal 4? Yes, it does. So this one works. But notice what it says about 3. It says be sure to check all of the equations. If it works for more than one, pick the fourth pair and check. Okay, so let's look at this. If I plug in 3 for x, I have 3 times 2 minus 2. Well, what's 3 times 2? That's 6, and 6 minus 2, well, it's 4 too. So technically, both of these work. So this is where step 3 comes into play. I'm going to have to start over with my fourth ordered pair. So my next ordered pair is 4, 5. So I'm going to take it and say 4, 5. And we're going to see which one works. So does 4 plus 1 equal 5? Yes, it does. So this one still works. Let's see about the next one. 2 times 4 minus 2. Well, 2 times 4 is 8, and 8 minus 2 is 6. Does it work for that one? No. Now, they do like to do this sometimes on our test, so make sure that you have to check every single equation when you're using that third order pair, because if you don't, you might fall into the trap that just happened this time. So the next one is taking a graph and matching it to an equation. And you're going to kind of like this because it's the exact same thing as table, only you have one step before it. And that first step is create a table using points from the graph. And so I was nice. I went ahead and drew the points for you so they'll be easy to check. But we do have to take and make our table. So I'm going to make an XY table. And the first one I'm going to do is it goes down to 3 and over to 3. So my ordered pair is 3, 3. On my next one, I'm going to take my point and I'm going to go down and I'm going to go over. So once I've done this, I'm just going to take my points and I'm going to plug them in. So I went down to my x-axis to get 6, and I went over to my y-axis to get 6 again. Now, notice what's going to happen each time. It's going to go down to 9, over to 9. So that's going to be 9, 9. And last one, my dots are a little bit off. Over to 12, down to 12. So my last one is 12, 12. Now, if this was matching it to equation, I then would take my third one and I would plug it into the equations and see which one works. Easy peasy. Okay, so let's try this all the way through this time. When we have a table and we're matching it to the equation, step 1 was go down and circle my third ordered pair. So I'm going to do that first. Now, I like to write that as an ordered pair. To me, it just makes it easier. It's one place to find everything. Now, what I have to do is I have to plug this into each equation and see which one works. If more than one works, then we are going to take that and use the fourth order pair. Hopefully, we won't have to do that. So let's look at the first one. So 3 times 5 plus 7. Well, 3 times 5 is 15, and 15 plus 7 is 22. Does that work? Absolutely not. Now, on B, we have 3 times 5 minus 1. Well, 3 times 5 is 15, and 15 minus 1 is 14. Does that work? No, it does not. Next one. 4 times 5. Well, 4 times 5 is 20. So that doesn't work in any way, shape, or form. So let's hope it's D or we've done something wrong. So 4 times 5 minus 2. 4 times 5 is 20, and 20 minus 2 is 18. And that's what we want to get. So we did do it right, and the answer is D. Now we're going to look at a graph, and I don't want you to freak out on me just because it's a graph. We're still doing the same steps. So step 1, make a table with the points from the graph. So here's my XY table, and I'm going to see how these match up. So I'm going to go up 1 over 1. That worked. So I'm going to fill it in. I'm going to go up from 2, see where it hits, and go over, which gives me 3. So my second order pair is 2, 3. I'm going to go up from my x-axis and over, which gives me 5. So my next order pair is 3, 5. And last one, go up and then over. So that gives me 4, 7. Now, I then have to go back and solve it just like I did the last one. So I take my third order pair, and I'm going to plug it into each equation. So if it is 3, 5, that means my x is 3, my y is 5. So 3 plus 2, does that equal 5? Yes. Okay, let's check the next one. 2 times 3 minus 1. Well, 2 times 3 is 6, minus 1 is 5. Uh-oh, works for that one too. Let's check this one. 2 times 3 plus 1. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Do I need to use that one? No, so I can go ahead and mark that one out. Let's look at my next one, D. So 3 times 3 minus 4. Well, 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 minus 4 is 5. Well, that one works too. So now I have 3 of them that works. So I'm going to have to start this process over with my fourth order pair. But the good thing about this is that since we are going to use our ordered pair, we've already marked one out. So do I have to fill them in all 4? No, I just have to fill them in the 3 that worked. So starting over with A, B, and D. All I do, same thing, plug it in. So 4 plus 2 should equal 7. Does it? No, so I can go ahead and mark in that one. On B, I should have 2 times 4 minus 1. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 minus 1 is 7. So that one still works. Let's check D. 3 times 4 minus 4. Well, 3 times 4 is 12. Running out of room, so we're going to write over here. And 12 minus 4 is 8. Does that work? No, so I can mark that one out. The only one that's going to work is B, but I had to use both order pairs to check that. We're going to look at one more example just to make sure you have it 100% before we move on. So, first thing I do is when I'm making when I have a graph and I need to check it to my equations, I have to make a table. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to make me an XY table, and then we're going to go from there. So I'm going to always have to go up from my x-axis and over to my y-axis. So starting at 1, I'm going to go up, and once it hits the line, I'm going to go over. So my x value is 1, and my y value is 3. On to the next one, up from my x-axis, see where it hits, and then go over to my y-axis. So that gives me 4, I'm sorry. Then my next one, up from 3 over to 5. So my next one, 3, 5. Last one, up from 4 over to 6. 4, 6. Now, remember, I used my third order pair, so I'm going to go ahead and circle that one. and now plug it in. So first one is I plug in 3 for x, so 3 plus 2 should equal 5. Does it? Yes, so I'm going to put a check. Next one, 3 times 3. Well, that equals 9, so does that work? No, I can mark it out. Next one, 4 times 3 minus 1. Well, 4 times 3 is 12, and 12 minus 1 is 11, so that's not even close. Next one, 3 times 3, which gives me 9, plus 1 gives me 10. So this one actually worked out pretty nice. We only had to go through once, which means my answer is A. So that pretty much wraps up for today. Do you have any questions for me?